I'm Metasalt. For some context here, I play a whole lot of games from Fortnite, Lethal League, Lethal Company, Slay the Spire to Stellaris, and even recents like Power World and Tekken 8. A real genre breaking YouTube guy, I know, I'm outstanding. I would consider myself a huge gaming fan that follows the industry and even the smaller individual scenes within that interest me very closely. Moreover, I would consider myself above all else a huge FPS fan, so I was fairly pleased when I first got my hands on the finals back in the middle of last year, that being 2023. Upon first playing, I couldn't quite wrap my head around how exactly they made this game a reality. It seemed almost too good to be true. From the feel of movement, to the shooting, to the level design, art direction, sound direction, music, cosmetics, really the whole package felt like it was well and truly on its way to being by far and large the most unique live service shooter on the market, and being damn good on top of all of that. However, I was always reserved in my initial concerns for the game. This is going to be a surprise to you, but unlike other journalists or YouTubers or internet personalities, whatever you want to call us, I don't actually enjoy talking negatively about games all the time. I really wouldn't want to brand myself as that type of person, even though that's where the clicks and spotlights would often be, especially when you're trying to break onto the scene like I am. With that being said, the finals presented to me a conundrum, a genuine head scratcher, if you will. Talk about its weakest and most glaring issues that would sour the taste of the game's experience, forcing me to actualize and realize its glaring issues, or just keep my yapper shut. Sadly, I don't have a large reach to bring the biggest underlying problems to the forefront. However, I chose the latter until now because the recent LTM has forced my hand, and I really just felt like now is the right time to speak on the game, as we have a more significant and thorough understanding of the game's plan at this point in time as opposed to its launch period. So, what do I think about the finals? After having time to sit and think on the finals, its launch, its content delivery for the first 2/3 of the game's initial season, how it's tackling balance changes, where it's overall landing for me and my inner circle, and more importantly, how it's dealing with major live service game problems, I can now confidently give my opinions on the finals, and, well, let me be upfront with you here. The finals clearly excels on so many fronts with its new technology from industry veterans running the studio that we can have full faith in, to its innovative design in its gameplay. On top of all of that, its presentation and said gameplay is currently at the top of the hill, with the rest battling for space in this live service pond that we have going on. Where problems are seemingly arising for myself and many other players is in the casual and hardcore categories alike. They both feel as if the game isn't fully fleshed out. Many other players are harshly critical with knee-jerk reactions on the balance of the game, which has been a long-running tradition for competitive FPS games, a trend that doesn't seem like the finals itself has been able to kick either. The lack of an outright objective-free mode where your primary focus is using these extremely fun guns and abilities that it presents you with is criminal. And this is the core underlying problem with the entirety of the game, if only not for the lack of matching and social systems that would allow hardcore players or even casual players alike to form teams for such team-oriented coordination-based shooters like this. It's often at times downright frustrating to play without a 3-stack and feels nearly impossible to play alone. Player retention is lacking as the economy tightens around most users. The ability to sink hours into a high skill ceiling game dwindles, thus leading to fall-off. Couple in looser skill-based matchmaking compared to other FPS titles, and you have a surefire failure on your hands. In the recent weeks, they tried to rectify this with 2 separate limited-time modes focused on solo play. However, the game isn't conducive to 12 players all shooting at each other, fighting over the same 2 objectives with wildly different outcomes. No matter how good your individual talent is outside the highest levels of players, the outcome is always the same in these types of matches. The grossly mismanaged item shop that neglects to capitalize on selling individual items at a higher price, forcing you to buy out bundles at admittedly a great price. However, if you want to mix and match gear across bundles, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. The lack of real progression after you unlock all items and gadgets for your loadout, no front-facing signs of a blossoming competitive scene, lacking rewards for ranks, and the list continues. But despite all that, the finals excels in what it wants to bring to the table. And as of yet, there has not been a single major misstep in the game's launch that I personally believe is too great to overlook. In fact, quite the opposite. Its somewhat regular content delivery, extremely often bug and balance fixes, coupled with its addicting gameplay, the Finals has a real sense of hope, a shining beacon amongst the rest of the live service shooters, shortcomings, and whatnot, minus Fortnite. It's doing a lot. Groundbreaking technology backed by a superhero league level of talent in studio, addictive and refreshing gameplay, innovative design and presentation, the Finals brings so much to the table to set itself apart from the far too often generic shooters put on the market today. However, as long as some persistent issues aren't being addressed, like the cash shop, the lack of casual modes, and the failure to implement a meaningful player progression and rewards, the game is sure to see a steady decline in players, and eventually a server shutdown by the end of the year, forcing it to go to the big AAA live service ocean in the sky as it's plucked out of the pond. The biggest takeaway from the Finals as of right now is that the gameplay is just so insanely good. There is nothing quite like it. First and foremost, the destruction. This has been at the forefront of the marketing, or lack thereof at this point, and is the major draw to the title for most players given its naturally appealing spectacle. The destruction in this game is this fully server-side groundbreaking, literally, innovation that allows the developers to have a cohesive experience for all the players, without the interruptions and intrusiveness of desync and just other natural shenanigans that come from client-side physics-based systems inside of online games. We can easily look at the Battlefield franchise and see what happens when destruction goes crazy there. It's something that has and will continue to set a new standard for destruction in FPS games. The destruction on display here is really something that has never been done or seen before, and should be touted as not only the game's drawing spectacle feature, but should be compared to its contemporaries for having done something not only never seen before, but doing it so damn well on its first iteration. I seriously don't know how they did it. Not only is the destruction so incredible, but the way it was implemented complements the core shooter and movement mechanics and gameplay loop almost too well. From blowing holes in floors to drop objectives to literally parkouring through crumbling buildings in the middle of a gunfight, if there's one thing we can all agree on is that the Finals has some serious sauce. From some robust shooting mechanics, fluid and exciting movement, creative and intuitive objectives in the design of its game modes that create an exciting moment-to-moment gameplay loop that constantly engages your brain in uniquely fascinating ways never previously brought to the spotlight before. It somehow couples all of this with that destruction that many players, myself included, have dreamt of for years. Even though there is a very limited amount of maps and modes in this game, there is not a single match that plays like another, and it creates a large, and I mean large, amount of replayability to keep players engaged. It's magical in its concept, and even more magical when playing and experiencing the game firsthand. I really can't stress enough that if you haven't played the Finals yet, you at least need to get your hands on this game ASAP for the experience, as Embark have proven that they know how to shake things up with innovation in a genre that is sorely lacking creativity and has remained stagnant since the explosion of the Battle Royale space. In light of recent events in the live service space, it's pretty safe to say that killer gameplay features is the least of a live service game's worries nowadays. I mean, really, just look around. For the most part, live service games live and die by their consistent and frequent content delivery, or lack thereof. With the Finals, the content delivery and balance patches leave me somewhat conflicted as of now, though. LTMs and balance changes are a must for an evolving game, and Embark have been no slouches in the balance patch department. However, the limited time modes are admittedly pretty garbage, something we will touch on later for sure, trust me. For now, I want to discuss feedback and how the developers handle community sentiment. When trying to weed out the loud and obnoxious, sometimes the concerns of players will get lost or fall on deaf ears. And while in recent years, many developers have failed to listen to their player base, I'm looking at you, Destiny, I'm happy to say that Embark are taking a bold new approach to community feedback, as in they are just actually listening to community feedback. A seemingly small and innocuous thing to note, however, the ripple effect that it has on the community internally and externally is huge and not to be scoffed at under any regard. When one game like the Finals has devs who listen and accordingly act on feedback, while another game, let's say it rhymes with gay sex, doesn't listen to feedback, well, it's going to start to draw lines between players and their communities. Rifts will form and riots will ensue. This is something we see time and time again and are currently seeing with many other communities as I'm literally typing and recording this video. I have seen frequent ship jumping from Apex to the finals, and it's for a damn good reason. It's important to create a unique and outstanding game. However, when the actions taken in the studio on a daily basis reflect positively rather than negatively toward that community, your game will inevitably be held in a higher light, garnering more love and attention and likely some more playtime from the players. There were some serious pain points from the players that the developers acted on extremely swiftly, and to this day, continue to work on consecutive pain points to evolve the game over time. Some examples are the power of C4, RPG was one-shotting lights which felt extremely unfair, defibs granted immunity shields allowing for a seriously aggressive playstyle, double medium heavy strategy was crazy, recon had ridiculous range, shotguns were very potent, weak weapons were made much stronger such as the revolver and the grenade launchers, etc. Invis was nerfed a little bit, shields were too potent so they were brought up into line with the rest of the items, and the list actually continues. Like, I wrote that list off the top of my head in like 10 seconds. I'm recording this, I was like, when does it end? And they have easily done more than triple of what I said in like 1, 2, maybe 3 months. Like really basic stuff. And that was after having to deal with the launch and everything else on top of that. So that's really good. That's some really impressive stuff. You have to acknowledge that. All of this leads to a greatly enhanced experience, a much more balanced game. Happier players playing longer and playing more often, which means more playtime, which means more time with that pesky little shop button staring the players down, and all of a sudden you have a larger revenue split to report back to your parent company. Speaking of money and shops, let's talk about the cosmetics. I personally think the art style and direction for the game it's just incredible. The Mirror's Edge very clearly inspired. I mean, they almost dragged and dropped it, especially considering that it's a lot of the same artists. That modernism in Mirror Edge is applied so beautifully and fits the game show aesthetic here perfectly. The neo streetwear, modern tech wear is such a vibe. Like no other game has done this before with this cosmetics to this high quality outside of like, I don't know, probably PUBG clones in China or something like that. Maybe Zenless Zone Zero. But here it fits even better than it does in those respective games. I can't explain it. It just feels and looks that way. Not to put those cosmetics and their art direction the same. Let's talk about Zenless Zone Zero for a second. Have you seen that game? But the tech we're on display here, it's just incredible. Dragging and dropping individual up-and-coming players from like the real-world street to put them in the game, that streetwear and everything just feels so cohesive and great here in the finals. Like the final touch on their presentation, or so I thought until the Battle Pass skin dropped. Well, see, it's not that the cohesiveness has shifted because of the Battle Pass skins, it's that the goalpost has been pulled forward a little bit for me. As taking a second look from a broader scope helped me understand how they kind of do in fact fit, that being the Battle Pass skins. I'm personally not a huge fan of them, but I can't criticize them at all. They look great and fit very well in the game show idea. I mean, it's literally augmented reality. Really anything and everything should be possible in a virtual space. We genuinely have alien saucers sucking up objects and debris, so why not have the alien costumes themselves, you know? However, as the cosmetics themselves are fine, my consumer-focused and defending brain cannot agree with the pricing model for most of the items in the shop. But again, I'm conflicted because I want Embark and the finals to get that bag. The finals needs money to support itself, and I'm sure those server costs are not light on the studio, what with all the new technology behind it. So let me explain. In the finals, cosmetics are broken down into 4 little categories, let's just call them. Level up rewards, battle pass cosmetics, shop cosmetics, and finally event cosmetics. Simple enough, right? Well, I'll do my best to try and keep this simple for you. The level up rewards offered here are pretty great. And as of writing an event that came out as of yesterday on the 31st, the level cap is increased and is offering even more level up unlock cosmetics that are tied to your account, which is great. This is a huge W in my book on top of all the exclusive event cosmetics that just came out. Who doesn't love FOMO them, right? I'm actually not a big hater of FOMO. FOMO from limited time event cosmetics aside, I think rewarding loyal players is the way to go, so I don't really see a problem here. A lot of controversy has been strewn about when discussing FOMO in games the last couple of years, but I think this is one of the only excusable ways to implement it. I think this was well done. Where I start to get lost is not in the Battle Pass either, which takes the Fortnite route. Super admirable on their part. You put your money into the Battle Pass and you will get enough money back to purchase the next Battle Pass. Huge W for Embark, putting their total faith in their art team that they will succeed in their future retention and ability to sell their admittedly really good cosmetics. Great for them to have trust in themselves. I don't have a problem with the price of shop items by themselves either. I think they reflect positively on the studio when compared to their contemporaries like Valorant and, oh my god, do not get me started on a name of a game that starts with gay sex. Okay, so if it's not the battle pass or the unlockables or the event cosmetics, then what is it, Mad Assault? You're just ripping your face off, I can tell. Well, with skins like Halto SMG that print out receipts for when you kill a player with, like, the said player's name on the receipt, man, that's so cool. When stuff like that happens and comes out in this game, when you have skins like that do a whole Valorant thing, for lack of a better term, yet cost a fraction of the price, yeah, I can see the skins are definitely worth it. I definitely think the in-shop items are worth the money. My problem comes with the character identity-driven cosmetics in the shop. See, paying money for skins, huge. That's why Valorant completely banks on that stuff, because it's constantly in your field of view. You can actually see it on your screen whenever you're using the gun. However, if you want to build your character how you want to in this game, you have to go and actually customize those. You can customize how your character looks. You have a fair amount of choice and freedom. Clearly, the game is still early in its life cycle. It's literally not even done with Season 1 yet. So options are currently limited as to what's in the game now. But in the future, we can expect to see a greatly expanded upon. And let's say a year from now, I imagine there to be triple, if not 5 times the amount of cosmetics to readily choose from to style your player how you like. There are plenty of items in advertisements and pre-release windows that we have used in-game in early access that have yet to be put into the game post-launch. So we know that a hell of a lot more is coming. But follow me. I know I'm rambling here. Follow me for but a moment. I really like the panda head. I really like pandas. It's my favorite animal. $22 is what that runs you. What does the panda bundle include? 9 items. The panda head, a black and white hoodie that goes along with it, black joggers that go around along with it, white sneakers, a unique weapon skin for the hammer, which is admittedly awesome. Definitely worth the money here just for that. A weapon charm, a sticker, a spray, and an emote. Already a really solid bundle when it comes to value proposition. A great price when compared to temporaries like Valorant and Call of Duty. Comes with an array of cosmetics and a wholly transformative weapon skin. Amazing. I love this. I also like the Urban Operative set though, as previously mentioned. I'm a big fan of the military style techwear, also $22. What's in that bundle? About the same thing, but 10 items. Boots, gloves, pants, a jacket, a helmet, a crossbody accessory, an emote, another weapon transformingly skin, admittedly less transformative though, a decal to put on your weapon that moves, that's hella cool, and a weapon charm. But I only want to use the head from the Panda bundle, and I don't really care for the weapon from the Urban set. As a matter of fact, I really only want to use the pants, the jacket, and the boots, maybe the gloves. Are we starting to see where the pricing may not be conducive for players? Arguably, the body, lower body, shoes, and most importantly, the helmet are the most defining slots in the character customizer. And I'm gonna give the flowers to the character customizer real quick. It's awesome. I'm sure paying for the entirety of bundles is going to create for some awesome Roblox style mixing and matching later on down the line. Problem is, this is an obnoxiously obvious underhanded. No, it is 2024. These are some overtly gross ways of price gouging players into paying for full bundles when they don't want, nor should they have to. If you could break up the prices just a tiny bit, or the pieces, if you could break up the pieces just a tiny bit, like make the overall bundle $2 to $3, fuck, even $5 more, and charge half or more for the just half of the cosmetics in the bundle. So you cut the bundle directly down the half. Just the cosmetics for customizing your character, just the cosmetics for customizing your weapons and stuff like that. Cut that shit in half, make the bundle $30, charge $20 for one half, or something like that. Or $25 and then charge $15 for one half. That is way more conducive for players who want to go ahead and spend money if you're able to give them multiple pricing options for them to get the things that they want. Super simple stuff. Like actually extremely simple stuff. This problem would solve itself if you did that, while also preying on those who are unwise in their spending. It is legitimately a win-win for the player and the developer alike. There has to be a better way to sell cosmetics like this. And honestly, the only reason I haven't spent money on the game is because I don't really like the current Battle Pass skins, and I don't want to spend $40 on a panda head and 3 pieces of clothes in an FPS game where I hardly get to see my actual character. I think that's kind of normal, right? To have that opinion. Okay, I think I made my point here, so I'm going to move on to some good about the cosmetics again. The tattoos and small single item cosmetics incredible. They're super cheap, look super good. I really like the masks and even one-off weapon skins that are wholly transformative, like the Halto SMG I talked about before. You're telling me I only pay $10 for my dagger to look like a cheese slicer, and it also comes with other items? Amazing. Let's go one-shot some people in the back. That's awesome. These are the skins that need to be sold, and they are thankfully being added quite often, actually, which ties back into that great content delivery schedule live service games need. Those drip-fed events and cosmetics will keep the player base moving at least towards the game's play button, if not the shop button. I actually have been seeing quite a lot of players buying and wearing cosmetics that they have bought, ranging from the small $5 cosmetics to whole bundles mixed and matched for $40+. So I'm sure the finals is making its money, but who knows if it's profitable, or at the very least keeping the lights on. It's well known in the gaming space and world that the whales and general consumers, that being the casuals, bring in the most amount of money to a game, especially in the live service space. They are by far the biggest player base as well. Destiny 2, which may seem like a poor example right now, but please bear with me. Destiny makes its money off of its casuals. Kind of a well-known thing. Alienating its hardcore player base has put itself in a difficult position, though. Leadership shakeups and layoffs aside, Destiny was already being mismanaged, but was still trying to push to where the profits were. And for good reason. It's a business. At the end of the day, you go where the money is. But in this process of profit chasing, the hardcore player base has been consistently neglected. Serious underlying problems aside, Destiny 2 still has the doors open on its business today because of the casual player. And that's the bottom line here. The finals doesn't find itself in such a fortunate position though. Both hardcore and casual players are being neglected, and no comparison makes that more obvious than Call of Duty. Of all games, if you could actually believe that. Call of Duty is another great example here to learn from. Trust me, the player base is so large that even when sorely mismanaged as it had been previously, the players will stick to it like glue, either that be through sunk cost fallacy or loyalty or skill-based matchmaking holding it down for low skill players while creating a shitfest for its hardcore dedicated players. It's no secret COD is casual player focused and driven, and very well at that. However, even COD systems allow for players to express their skill and show off what they have worked for, and that's super important for the hardcore players. There needs to be something to actually chase, not just the highest level of play, but even at the lowest levels of play. Through weapon skins that have unique challenges tied to them, to totally different ways of ending matches, and even in Warzone, through skill expression, to completionist skins and cosmetics to show you have completed everything in the game. These are extremely simple things to consider as a developer, and I have to be a little bit ruthless here. Look at the free cosmetics in the game that are available now. You have innovating ideas like the base original skin with its dope text on the side of the gun and game's logo, and it says the finals. I actually think this looks really cool, not exaggerated. However, this is where we get a little mean. It's a little mean. Then for the unlockables, you have an exciting yellow. Yep, thrilling blue. Look at this blue color. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, really innovative. If you can't, don't forget that fiery red. Never seen a red gun before. Definitely not Call of Duty. Done better. Never seen a red gun before. Can't forget white either. Really, God, this flat white looks so good. Holy shit, this flat white looks so good. Yeah. And to top it all off, this is the final skin for all of your many hours that you put into the game. God, I'm so mad right now. This is your final skin on each item that you max out. This is your pinnacle reward, one that doesn't show your skill expression or expertise on a weapon in the slightest. Just that you use an item or weapon frequently because it's just an XP-based system. Really riveting shit, eh? Yeah, I bet you fucking love this, don't you? I love it just as much as the next dumbass that fucking shovels the schlop into their mouth. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. This is terrible. And looking towards gadgets like the heal beam and turret, where even is the white skin on those items? Where did they go? These skins are inexcusably bad. You put this work in for these weak ass flat colors and designs. I mean, Black Ops 1 had better camos and designs. They did flat red 14 years ago, man. 14 fucking years, and they did it significantly better. Do not even get me started on the $5 paid skins in Black Ops 2. Actually, hold on. One sec. Oh my god. $2 skins. Where was I? Don't even get me started on the $5 paid skins in Black Ops 2. Actually, $2 skins, not even 5. Literally just looked it up. Even the free ones that looked amazing and were, again, free, like the Cherry Blossom or Art of War, were, in the game and earnable. Okay. All right, let's cool off a little bit. Where was I? The lack of initiative for hardcore players stops the exact moment that they hit the diamond rank in the actual ranked mode, which isn't particularly difficult for a dedicated 3-stack playing over, let's say, a couple weeks. The game currently relies on the Valorant or gay sex route of advertising new updates to the game as cosmetics first, with balance changes and bug fixes second. This reeks of selling out and cashing out early rather than giving the players real goals and cosmetics to chase. If your core cosmetic chase is tied to really basic XP dumping progression, just playing the game for XP, you are missing out on a whole new slew of ideas you can execute on that would diversify most individual players' play every single time they log on, as long as they chase those long shot kills, or let's say they got last bullet in the magazine kills or something like that, or get a kill with only headshots, or just melee kill. The list goes on, and at the tippy top you'd have the sweats with their ability to flex on each other player in the lobby and their teammates with some catch-all skin that unlocks once you complete all the other skins within an individual class, or maybe across the whole game, like COD has done for literal fucking years. Oh my god, this is such a fumble. It's actually crazy how big of a fumble it is. Okay, so yeah, milking casuals and wallets with a bare-bones shop and progression system that has no unique identity behind it sucks. But it's where the money is. However, this system lacks any retention for hardcore, and even lacks retention, I would imagine, at the middle levels of play as well. Thing is, even at the lowest levels of play, in Call of Duty, the lowest level players still chase camos because they look good. And I don't really hear anybody talking or wanting to chase camos in this game. So really, you can do the math yourself. So the devs are going to milk the lower skill players, as it's the largest player base of the game. That's where the money is. Even if only 1 in every 10,000 player puts money into the game, then you can do the math. You always go with the bigger player base. You're going to want to make sure you take care of the biggest player base because, again, that's where the money is. I know, I'm very sorry. I keep reiterating that. So many people miss that point when discussing what directions games should be taking themselves in, though, especially when they're live service. That aside, though, the real problems come now. Well, what are the biggest problems? It's the game just lacks a casual mode. What initially rubbed people the wrong way when they swapped from Counter-Strike to Valorant? There is no casual mode like there is in Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has unrated, where you choose what maps you want to play or from a set playlist, and it's just drop in, drop out. There is zero punishment for having to get up and go do the dishes, or having to go pee, or having to walk your dog, any of that type of stuff. There's no punishment. It's hyper casual, super fun. What did Valorant have, though? Spike Rush, which lacked the core gameplay loop, and unrated was way too long and tedious, forcing you to dedicate 45 minutes of sweaty gamer boy balls or clammy gamer girl hands minimum if you wanted to apply yourself to a full match. Enter Swiftplay, and I can bet on my life that Valorant's player retention doubled. And when your player retention goes up, that's more time playing the game. That's more time spent staring at the in-game shop button. You see where I'm going with this? As of right now, the finals has 3 premier modes: Quick Cash, Banquet, and Tournament. We will set Ranked Tournament aside. It's obviously where the sweats play. It's kind of common sense, but I want to discuss the focus on the modes that the casuals will actually play or would like to engage with. Quick Cash and Banquet are the go-to modes for casual play as of right now. I don't think anyone can argue against that at all. Quick Cash is a more objective focus, but it's way lower stakes than Tournament, so clearly and obviously the casuals will be glued to it rather than Tournament. That and Banquet. Banquet is this deathmatch style mode with an end objective of holding on to the coins, but again, objective focused. And even when you are winning on the up and up, you spend more time sweating your balls off than not. And Banquet is supposed to be the mode that more players are messing around in and experimenting in. If there isn't a single mode where you're able to kick your feet back and shoot bad guys with this incredible spectacle of a sandbox, then why even play the game? If even 50% of your player base are working men and women who don't want to come home after an 8-hour shift to put just as much effort as they put into said shift just to stand a chance against a 3-stack and Quick Cash, they do not want to play your game. That is super duper simple. Everyone can understand that. Trying to weave in and out of combat, running with 32k in coins for a slick comeback, or having to steal last second and cash out, all of these things, they feel so good, but that's not exactly casual, is it? One mistake and you lose. That is not fun. Or how about the fact that every single death often leads to you staring at a gray screen for 20 seconds, watching other people play on your team because there's no way to request revives or even find people to play the game with in a 3-stack without downloading Discord, joining the finals LFG, some serious effort from a separate device on a separate app that requires you to make an account and learn that dog-ass UI of Discord. What I'm saying is that Embark is seriously fumbling right now. Their core gameplay of the game is in the title of the genre. FPS, shooter. It is a shooter. You spend more time in banking and quick cash and tournament, either dead, staring at a gray screen, or playing around objectives, as in avoiding combat altogether, or waiting to third party, or trying to play smart instead of actively engaging with the sandbox non-stop. That I have to wonder what the casuals think, but I don't actually have to wonder because I can show you the Steam charts right here. We know what the casuals think. Many an upcoming live service shooter, the finals is a competitive game at its core. That is the truth. If you die and you have to wait to play again, it is a competitive game. Guaranteed. 100%. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. So many games offer the ability to express yourself through the player agency I like to call kicking someone's ass, and the finals has plenty of that. I often end matches with 20 to 40 kills, so please take it from me. If I died every single fight and had to wait 20 seconds to play again, I would be fucking pissed. With looser skill-based matchmaking and a severe focus on team play, it's hard to find yourself wanting to boot the game up for a quick hour without imagining yourself bitching about garbage teammates or whack third parties the whole game, which is another pain point. This time one for the casuals and hardcore players alike. The game desperately needs a way to find like-minded and similarly focused players. I'm sure that if you're seeing this video, you've made it this far, you probably are tired of me explaining the game to you as if you haven't played it before, so let me repeat something you've already heard a million times. This game is impossible to play without a 3-stack. I will try to stop repeating myself for the rest of this video from here on out. I promise. It's even there in the script, right there. I even wrote it in. Look at that shit. Hell yeah. And for the most part, it's true. Without an ultra casual mode, I struggle to find myself booting up the finals to play unless I have at least bare minimum one other person on comms playing alongside me. It's just not possible to play without them. You could take Shroud. You could take Aceu, Timmy, any of these really talented players at the game. You could take any of them, put them in a low skill lobby, and it's 9 out of 10. It's a coin flip on if they will win or not. Because no matter how talented you are, you need teammates who understand the core objective and gameplay loop. And without that, this game is so damn frustrating to play. You cannot 1v3. It's just not possible. Even if you had a text chat, because convenience matters, even if you had a text chat, it would be better than just the basic ping system. I won't harp on this as it really speaks for itself, but something I can harp on is the extremely poorly balanced and even more poorly thought out limited time modes. It is finally time for me to really shit on this game. There is an argument to be made here that they at least acted swiftly. However, even a blind chimpanzee could have foreseen how these modes would have played out. They introduced an experimented limited time mode focused on solo play. It was not that bad, really. Just had problems where if you want to shoot bad guys, you know, because it's a shooter, like you do in every other arena shooter, instead of camp objectives and play for the win, you're just going to lose every game. And I suppose you could be like, well, just suck it up and play for the loss. If you could just get 30 kills, you're still having fun. It's like, kinda, but that's not the point of the mode, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of common sense, right? I don't understand how we got to this point. Like, it's just put deathmatch or team deathmatch in. I don't get it. I don't get it. That's like the casual mode. Okay. Anyways, this was all fine and dandy as you were allowed to play as you like I had said. If you just wanted to play for kills, you can do that. But there's going to be a respawn timer and you're just going to get third partied on repeat, and that doesn't feel good. And again, this was all fine, kind of. This is all kind of fine. You could tolerate it a little bit because you were allowed to play with your loadouts on your class, on the weapons and stuff that you liked, right? However, now in the new Steal the Spotlight mode, this mode sucks. It's really bad. It forces players to use a pre-made loadout where everyone is a heavy with charge and slam, a really powerful instant damage button in RPG for long-range instant damage, and C4 for extremely high burst damage. Couple that with the fact that you are playing the slowest and biggest class in the game, and 11 other players are playing around to the same objectives as you, and man, this stinks. It reeks of just terrible balance and terrible direction. It's terrible. It's terrible. I appreciate deeply the effort putting into having an LTM and event cosmetics in the first season, really breaking norms by coming out swinging. I'm proud of Embark for this, but this is just not it. Its lack of balance is horrendous. Again, you are discouraged to fight and engage with the rest of the game, and it's due to its poor balance of the mode. Speaking of balance, though, I won't grind my teeth over this LTM crap anymore. It's time to gush about how well balanced this game actually is across the rest of its modes. Balancing games is extremely difficult to talk about. People want to argue up and down if something is or isn't balanced to play against, and as extremely well balanced the finals is, even well-balanced items and weapons and gadgets can feel unbalanced as long as they are unfun to play against. You gotta remember, as balanced as any game is, you still have to make it fun. but fun often comes at the expense of another player and their experience. The finals has had minor stumbles, as I'm sure developers grossly overestimated how talented casuals are, but they swiftly and effectively dialed all these outliers back into place. I think everyone can agree C4 was the biggest obvious one, right? I don't really think C4 was the insanely busted item everyone else seems to think it was, but I do believe it was negatively impacting players who want to play the game more aggressively, and as far as I could tell, obliterating the lower ranked lobbies of the game, as teams running together and next to one another would all die in half a second because of their poor positioning. The rest of the balance of the game is relatively tight. Stun gun has weird interactions where if it catches you reloading, you just die. Goo gun meta is evolving, however frustrating it is to play against. There's a solid counter probably, which is to play with your team. Invis will inevitably really strong forever at most levels to play. Dome shield has insane versatility, and people just don't realize you're supposed to just shoot at it as much as you can. Defib and heal are crazy and good together, but all of these things, even when paired together, never really actually break the game. So I'd say the developers have done a great job at balancing so far. And to back that statement up, I will give an example of a studio making poor balance choices, and then compare it to how Embark fixed what I'm dubbing the shotgun dive meta in the finals. Overwatch. Okay, that's the joke. Okay, I'm kidding, but League of Legends, and seriously this time. In League, the balance of champions is a very fickle thing. With something like 160 champs and around, I don't know, like, I think it's like 200 plus items, someone would have to fact check that, characters will often fall out of line with the balance of the game. Pretty crazy concept, I know. For example, on the top lane, a champion can be a relatively overtuned champion after a recent balance change to pull them up into line with the rest of their respective champions. However, then they may have unforeseen consequences through using an item that wasn't initially intended for them. They may have fallen out of line again, but this time too strong instead of too weak. Instead of trying to pull the character back down into line, they will sometimes opt to nerf an item that is being used instead of the champion. This has ripple effects across the rest of the game, meaning that other champions that use that item regularly get inadvertently nerfed because of developers' poor decision making when trying to balance the game. Embark has a different approach though. The double medium heavy meta was and kind of still does remain to be super strong. As of now, it's still the go-to strategy for a lot of sweaty players. However, to bring the entire strategy in line, we have to look at why it was so strong. The ability to revive a dead teammate of your choosing twice, especially if it's a heavy who has more health than any other class when they are kitted with burst damage and burst defensive items, makes for a crazy attrition style of play. The problem, however, came when the shotgun was fairly strong, but instead of nerfing the shotgun and then it still being a problem and then nerfing the shotgun more, they nerfed the defibrillators in the game instead because it was also causing its own problem. You no longer get a full second of half of invulnerability when being revived by the defib. This posed many problems before and now caters to an overall healthier experience, while attempting to stamp out a pesky meta strat that sucked the fun out of the game. No longer can you revive a heavy and then stand behind them as a meat shield healing for 1.5 seconds while he took no damage and then turned around with no counterplay and burst damaged somebody down that had just killed them. Clearly this was an oversight that the players learned to abuse and was fixed, that also helped snuff out a toxic strat to play against. Clearly a great overall change for the game that most players are not going to miss. I assume its intention was the meat shield problem, but you don't have to reach very far to see how else it caused problem. With the auto shotgun and the way it's really strong, you were often dying to players you had just killed and then they were revived and then again at full health with little to no time to react. To me, this seems to be a clearly targeted nerf on the meta and strategy overall instead of just outright gutting the shotgun item. If this isn't an example enough to inspire trust with you as a player towards the development team, I don't quite know what will. I see many games poorly managed on the balance side of things, and clearly Embark have been on a tear to keep us players happy. Okay, very extremely briefly, I'm going to talk about one final front that they are lacking on, that's stunting potential of the game. With fake in-game sponsors like Halto and she spoos on my pop till I pour and perform and whatnot on the billboard strewn around the maps, I can't help but wonder when I will see tournament dates or Red Bull gaming sponsors on there, or maybe we'll see like the three teams and like their respective like PNG cutout JPEGs from like, you know, like Sentinels or I don't know, like FaZe or Cloud9 or something like that, and then they'll have like in-game jerseys or like Red Bull jerseys and stuff like that, and like, you know, you go buy Red Bull and you come home and then you put your little code in online, and once you've bought so many of them, then you'll get like all your cosmetics. There's a lot of stuff that they can do here, I believe. Okay, so I've been yapping for, I don't know, insert time here on the screen. And honestly, I feel like I've said enough. It has been very rambly. I've gotten to the point where I just want to ramble. I don't care if people listen. I just think that I have a lot of stuff to say that a lot of people aren't seeing and recognizing and realizing. So I'm just going to keep saying it. And I don't care if nobody listens. Its presentation and the overall vibe this season is giving is that it wants to build trust and rapport with the players to ensure long-term engagement and trust in the coming months, if only it wasn't failing to see the lack of casual modes or deeper cosmetics unlocks are holding them back severely. Real-world sponsors can help pad the pockets, enabling more delivery of content or even partnerships for in-game items like the Red Bull jersey and shit that I talked about for a second. No clear avenues for tournaments, weirdly priced shop items. Most of this can also all be overlooked if they just add casual mode, damn it. But only time will tell if the next season and those that follow will allow this game to succeed and swim in the big live service pod instead of being swallowed up. And there is plenty, and I mean plenty of time to rectify these issues that they have. I'm sure in the coming months and hopefully a year or so, we can see an exponential growth in players and improvements to the game overall that streamline the player experiences for the better. Surely a game this good on so many fronts is the one to break the live service curse. And of all of the live service games that have broken onto the scene, like many others, I'm really rooting for the finals. Thank you for watching. Just a reminder, if you made it this far, you are like legally obligated to hit the like button. And if you learned or expanded your cranium in any way at all, please subscribe. It may seem like I don't upload frequently if you go look, but I promise regular uploads are coming and they're going to be less long and less rambly as this. Thank you again for watching. Have a good one.